Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm just here really to do a craft with me. I was going to kind of sit down and play with my blue Haze kit, and I just thought, you know, while I was at it, I might as well just switch the camera on and, you know, do a bit of a craft along. So I have showed the kit already in another video, and I have been busy cutting out all of the little bits and bobs. So I've now got a huge collection of ephemera pieces and various different pieces ready to kind of use in my journal. So I'm going to make a ring bound journal, and I'm using here some stitched book pages. So this is just kind of 2 book pages stitched together. The reason it's only 2 is because this is actually very, very thick pages. I've used these before, and this was, I think, the last bits of the book, although I may be wrong and find some more kind of buried somewhere. So I only needed kind of 2 because it's actually very, very thick. And then what I've done so far, I just took a few of the pages and have roughly painted kind of one side of the pages so far. And I have used this pale blue, kind of like a duck egg blue colour, and I've also used a kind of ivory colour, you know, just randomly on odd pages really. So I thought, you know, that's kind of how I'm starting. I haven't got a clue yet what I'm going to actually do. So it's a kind of, you know, suck it and see kind of process. So, you know, forgive me if it turns out very scatty. I haven't planned anything. But sometimes I think that's kind of nice to do. So I've just literally got some of the background page that I have cut out some other bits from. So literally just a scrap here of one of the background papers. So rather than waste it, I thought what I could do is do a bit of kind of layering on this page. So I'm just going to literally tear it very roughly, you know, no right or wrong. I'm not paying really any attention to kind of how I tear it. I just want to kind of neaten the edge up, and I mean the irony to say neaten the edge up when I'm tearing it. I just meant get rid of the pieces where I've actually cut it kind of with the scissors. So I actually wanted it this side ideally, where the holes were, but obviously then my flowers are going to be upside down. So I'm just having a look, unless I go for putting this on the white page, or, you know, the ivory page. So I might do that instead. So here we are, not 3 minutes into the video, and already I'm kind of chopping and changing my mind really. So that's probably how this video is going to be. So if you don't kind of like scatty free-for-all videos, this might not be the one for you. So what I'm going to do is literally just kind of glue this down. Oops. Just using my wet glue. Just literally roughly kind of going around it. And I'm just going to kind of glue it. You know, I haven't tried to glue it in the centre or anything. I just wanted it kind of roughly glued on there somehow. You have to excuse my hands because I've actually got paint on them from where I've just painted the book pages. And it was literally only then that I thought, oh, actually, I could just switch the camera on and kind of do a quick craft with me. So, there we go. Move that. Actually, before I move that out of the way, I'm going to ink around this. So I've just got my, obviously, distress ink, my vintage photo, and I'm just going to distress this. I haven't coffee dyed any of these pieces of the blue Haze kit yet. I may decide to kind of do that with my loose pieces afterwards. But at the moment, I'm just kind of distressing in, you know, the ones that I kind of are glued down onto the page. So there we go. And if you see, I just kind of literally distress inked a little bit on the book page itself, but not kind of overly much. So that's kind of that one. And then I've got tons and tons of bits to play with here. And I have got here, this is just another piece of background page that literally, again, this was just an offcut from another kind of piece that I've, you know, already cut out from a background page. And obviously, rather than throw it away, I just thought I'm going to hang on to it just in case I want to do anything with it. Glad that I did. So what I thought is I will just round the corners just with my corner rounder, and then I'm just going to ink this up a little bit. And as I say, I have got no plans whatsoever. I mean, my mind is literally completely blank with regards to where I'm going with this journal. So, you know, I really haven't got a clue kind of where I'm going with this. So it may be, you know, this may be a time consuming process, but I've said before, I actually find it quite helpful doing the videos while I'm crafting, because it stops me overthinking the process too much, because I'm kind of busy chatting with you guys, and so that kind of stops me thinking too much about kind of where I'm going to pop things and, you know, what I'm going to pop down. This is one of the elements from the kit, and I've obviously already distress inked that up, so I might quite like that on there. And then let's just have a look and kind of see what else we've got here in all my bits and bobs that I've kind of, you know, ready cut out. So just literally having a look. Obviously I've got some tags here, so we may kind of might quite like to have a tag on there or something. So I'm thinking kind of that you could open it like this, and then you could have a little pocket kind of here, and obviously this as a kind of, you know, fold out, you know, which might be quite fun. So I might just do that, I think. Yeah, let's go for that. So I'm just deciding now whether to actually pop this onto something else. Now I've got a little bit of lace. This is just literally some old neck curtain, which has been very lightly coffee dyed, but very lightly. We could have that kind of under there. Now I've got a whole selection of laces with me. You know, because if you watch my channel a lot, you'll know that I just can't do anything without adding a whole load of lace trim and, you know, paraphernalia kind of everywhere. So I've got kind of my laces there. I've got some of this white lace, which I think I used this in my video when I kind of just literally showed the kit a little bit. So it's whether or not kind of this is too much under there, whether it would be better plain. I think I've said this before as well, but more often than not, I always think more is more. And kind of I take it away and think, oh no, it was better with it. Now I'm looking and I don't think I've quite got enough there really to kind of pop on there. I'm just going to see whether I've got any kind of literally to my side where I've got kind of a bunch of laces in a little bag here, because I don't really want to kind of have to go off rummaging for things, making you guys kind of just sit there bored while I'm doing that. Well, perhaps we'll just go for this, and it will just have to be, you know, not particularly big, if you see what I mean, not hanging out too much. So all I'm going to do is wet glue that down onto the lace. Like that. I'll just kind of stretch the lace out a little bit, because you know, we might get a little bit more lace kind of out of it, if that makes sense. I'm just going to kind of press that down for a couple of minutes, and I'll just pop that out of the way for a moment. And while we're leaving that to dry, I'm going to distress ink the tag here. So again, let me just get a piece of paper now to kind of distress ink that against, because obviously I've used my piece of card that I was using to glue that on. So there we go. So there's that. And then it's just a case of deciding now whether I want anything as a little tab for the tag. So we could have kind of a little piece of lace kind of just up there or something, or we could have kind of a ribbon or a bow. We could have a little flower. I quite like the lace. So I'm just going to cut a piece off. I think I've mentioned before recently, but I've been listening to some podcasts recently. I hadn't ever listened to a podcast before. I didn't really kind of know particularly what they were. And to be honest, you know, I quite like silence. I find sometimes when people are actually out of the house, you know, because it's quite unusual to kind of have the house to myself, it's quite nice when the kids are kind of out of the house to kind of have peace and quiet. So on my couple of days off work, you know, I quite like the silence. And if ever I'm driving in the car on my own, and I don't particularly very often be in the car on my own because I tend to kind of walk to most places or use my bike or something, but just occasionally I might be in the car on my own, and that's when I choose to listen to a podcast. So I just kind of have downloaded a few onto my iPad and have listened to them. And I was listening to a Desert Island Discs podcast yesterday, and one of the discs, it was one with Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, and you know, not that I'm necessarily a Keith Richards fan, but the Desert Island discs are actually really quite fascinating because you know, even if it's someone who you may be, you know, not overly especially a fan of or know anything much about, you know, they're really interesting to kind of hear about people's lives. And obviously kind of they have a whole eclectic choice of music and, you know, songs and discs that they kind of play. And in the podcast, they only play a little snippet of the songs, I think due to the copyright or something, where it's kind of, you know, a pre-recorded show. So one of his songs that he had, or one of his pieces of music that he had, was Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Now, I'm not kind of, you know, claiming to be some classical music expert or anything else, but they just obviously played a little tiny bit of it. Now, I couldn't have even probably told you before that that was Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Obviously, as soon as they played it, I knew the piece of music, but I wouldn't have probably been able to tell you what it was. But it's such a powerful and, you know, amazing, gorgeous piece of music. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's very long. They only literally played a couple of minutes of it. But, you know, for me, I found it just such a powerful, and as soon as I kind of heard it, I thought, oh, I'm finding that really inspiring, you know. And obviously, as I say, I mean, I was just in the car and kind of listening to the podcast. So when I got home, I searched it up and, you know, managed to find it on YouTube, actually, and played it, you know, throughout kind of the entire piece of music. And I just really found it very, very, very inspirational. And, you know, I don't know, I haven't particularly necessarily kind of experienced that before. You know, some things obviously do inspire me, mainly kind of watching people on YouTube, really. But that particular piece of music was just so incredible. You know, and I mean, of course, as I say, I've heard it before, but I've just never kind of obviously associated it with maybe, you know, inspiration or anything like that. But, oh, I just absolutely loved it. And up until I've kind of been filming just now, that's what I've had playing in the background and was really, really enjoying it. In fact, I almost didn't do the video because I thought, oh, I'll have to turn the music off. Oh, yes, it was just really, I found it very inspiring. So, you know, I don't know whether anyone else would kind of share my sentiments there, really. But, you know, occasionally we kind of do get inspired by things, don't we? Or, you know, not occasionally, but quite often. But I think, yeah, for me, I think because that's such a strong piece of music, it really, really, really kind of touched something in me. And I just found it really an incredible piece of music. And actually, funnily enough, I did Google it, and I think it said it was written in, you know, he wrote it in 1721. And it was finally, you know, published or released, or, you know, whatever the term would be, in 1725, which I just found absolutely staggering, that, you know, a piece of music can really stand the test of time like that. So I'm going to just pop this down. Can stand the test of time like that, because, you know, music today, I often find very unrecognisable, and I'm sure lots of young people would disagree with me, but, you know, I certainly don't think 300 years down the line many bits of music would be, you know, still being played. You know, so like it or loathe it, you know, you kind of have got to admire the longevity, I suppose, of, you know, the ability for a piece of music to literally still be going strong 300 years later is literally, you know, incredible, I think. So that's kind of that was kind of my revelation, really, for the week. So yeah, I just really, really loved it, and it definitely, you know, kind of got me very inspired. So right, so let me just, I'm trying to find my little holes. I had one hole left on a piece of paper, and I thought I'll just use that up so that I can obviously throw the piece of paper away. And now I can't see it literally anywhere. I mean, not that it's surprising, because my desk is such a tip, but never mind, we'll just use these. So I'm just going to use these little hole protectors. So, oh, excuse me, that's my telephone. Hold on a moment, please. Sorry about that, guys. That was just my husband. He was just phoning just to say that there's a film called Captain Marvel on today, or, you know, this evening at 6 o'clock. And did we want to go with the children? I think I've said here before, but we often go to the cinema on either a Tuesday or a Wednesday with our, what we have over here in the UK called meerkat movies. So, you know, we can all go to the cinema, you know, on like a 2-for-1 ticket. And he was just seeing whether I wanted to do that. But I couldn't think of a worse film to go and watch personally. But the kids may like it, although I think the boys maybe are even a bit big for that. And my daughter's probably a bit young. Right, so I've got this kind of laid out here, and obviously I've popped the hole protectors on. Now, I also, what I've used is this Stays On ink pad, and I just used it just a moment ago on an envelope before I started filming. Now, I've had this ink pad for absolutely years. It's this gorgeous colour blue, but unfortunately, you know, it's absolutely ancient. I mean, I'm talking like probably, you know, 8 years old. So it's very, 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 very dried out. So when I used it just now, I actually poured a drop of water on it. I don't know whether it's going to still be wet enough. I may have to pour some more on it, but I'm just going to try it on here. Ah, it's still coming out okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp in the corner. I can't decide which corner to stamp. I'm going to stamp in this corner on the background page. And actually I don't want to stamp on the hole, so I'm just going to pop that there. Okay. And how gorgeous does that look? Because sometimes it's kind of nice to use different colour ink, isn't it? And as I say, I mean, I haven't used this for years. It's from my old scrapbooking and kind of card making days, really. But doesn't that look just beautiful on the page? You know, really nice to kind of use something a little bit different, isn't it? So I might just kind of have that on there. Now, do I want to have another corner kind of anywhere else? Maybe in the opposite corner, or in that one? What do you think? I'm kind of drawn to this corner for some reason. Right, let's go for that. Again, despite doing a video, you see, I'm now starting to overthink this. So I'm just going to pop it here. Like that. It's gorgeous colour, isn't it? So we can have that kind of like that. And then I'm just wondering kind of about a piece of kind of lace, maybe just running round at an angle. So I'm just going to put this down. Oops, move that out of the way. Like that. Now what I also did, I just cut out a little tiny bit from, again, one of the background papers, which again I just thought, oh, that's nice, maybe I could actually kind of use that somewhere. So I might want to kind of have that stuck somewhere too. Yeah, so I'm just going to ink that up, so I'll just move that out of the way once again. Wednesday is, you know, and I've said this before, sorry, just digressing, but I tend to do my videos kind of, you know, I'm trying to get ahead of the videos so that I've got plenty to upload should I ever kind of be unable to upload some for a while. So this, you know, I don't know when this video is going to be uploaded, so the chances are it's not going to be on a Wednesday, but I'm filming it on a Wednesday. But yeah, I was just going to say, so in our house, Wednesday is our hideous day of the week. It starts out fine. I only work a half day on Wednesday, which is pretty nice. But it kind of deteriorates later because it's often quite a horrible rush, because it's the day that I take my children to this thing called CrossFit, which is this incredible, you know, fitness kind of workout thing, which they absolutely love. It's just the boys who go. My daughter doesn't go, she's too young. And the boys go, and they've been going, one of them's been going for about 1.5 years, and I think the other one's been going for probably about 8 or 9 months, quite a while anyway. But it's about half an hour's drive from our house. It used to be very local, and then unfortunately they kind of moved it to, you know, somewhere a bit further afield. And although it's not many miles away, the traffic makes it, you know, quite time consuming to get there. So it's a bit of a nuisance. So what we often do, you see, is go to the cinema straight from the CrossFit, you know, workout. So it all just gets very rushy, because between the school run, you know, the children finishing school and picking my daughter up, we have an hour left before we go. And so during that hour, I kind of try and do everything, you know, make my kind of food to take to work the next day. You know, the boys obviously get changed and things for CrossFit. Everyone has something to eat after they've got in from school and things. And, you know, just normal life. I'm sure anyone who's got children kind of gets, you know, what it's like kind of in normal life, isn't it? It's it can be pretty busy. And then actually, and I'm just thinking I may add a couple more pages in here, and it just gets really kind of hectic and really, you know, horrible. And it goes literally from being kind of okay-ish to then suddenly there's this mad rush to get out of the door and get to CrossFit. And it all becomes very shouty and nobody's ready. And, you know, particularly if we're going to the cinema straight from CrossFit, because CrossFit's 5 till 6, and often we'll go to the cinema at kind of, say, you know, 6:15, 6:20, depending on the film time. So obviously sometimes, you know, there's obviously no coming home in between. So then I try and take, you know, some food in a Tupperware for the children to have for their dinner at the cinema. So often I've kind of got to quickly cook something for them to take to eat as well. And it all just gets really horrible. And yeah, quite often we're sat in the car then going to CrossFit and everyone's in a bad mood and everyone's angry with everybody else. And it's just generally, it's my worst day of the whole week. So I'm sure we all kind of have days like that, and you know, we probably all have a kind of day of the week that's kind of worse than the others. And for me, it's Wednesday. So it kind of deteriorates very quickly from being a really nice day because I've had a half day at work and I've come home, I've kind of done some crafting, I've done a video maybe and things like that, to then suddenly it's just horrible. It's all a mad rush and just deteriorates. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to staple this down. Right, I haven't got quite room there, so I'm going to have to fold this in a couple of times. Now this is not how to do something, so please excuse my methods here. I'm just literally trying to kind of get enough room to be able to staple this in. So, I mean, again, obviously you could sew this if you were doing something like this, but I do not have my sewing machine in the room with me here. So, you know, I don't want to have to kind of start the camera while I nip downstairs to get my sewing machine. Right, so that's why I've done that. So now I've obviously got bent up pages, but they will obviously flatten out, so that's all fine. And then this page here, I'm just going to actually trim this down because it's overhanging now at the front. Like that, okay. I'm just going to pop that like that. Like that. So I'm going to start by literally gluing this back piece onto the page. And I will just glue that with the wet glue, like that. Yeah, the CrossFit that they go to, wow, it's an incredibly hard workout. And the class is an hour, and for about the first kind of 40 minutes, you think they're not really doing a lot because they're actually just kind of warming up. And then the last 20 minutes of the class, they're kind of given what's called the workout. And it's pretty intense and pretty horrible, I have to say. It's, yeah. But their fitness has improved so much since going, and they both absolutely love it. So, you know, it's really done them a lot of good. And, you know, their kind of stamina and everything has kind of really changed and come on since going. So it's a really good thing for kids to kind of get into. I mean, they have adult CrossFit as well, but, I mean, obviously they go to the kids one. So, yeah, it's a really good thing to get into. And they do seem to absolutely love it. It's just twice a week that they go. But just that twice a week really is enough to kind of really build up your fitness, I think. Right, so let me just check that I am in frame here, because obviously since the whole phone call thing, I didn't actually come back and check that my camera situation was kind of still the same. I know that sounds strange, but sometimes I find when I'm doing a video, if the camera goes off, when it comes back on, it doesn't necessarily kind of pick up quite where it kind of left off, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to pop a bit of lace here in the corner. Actually, I might have it going kind of more like that from the bottom of the kind of booklet. So I'm just going to literally apply the glue to the lace trim itself. so that I can pop it exactly where I want it. Oops. Like that. And then a bit more along here. I think I've said a few times recently, I'm really into having the lace at a kind of curve lately. I don't know why that is, but for some reason I think that's just really, really cute. So, and then I've just got this little flower that I've been using tons of these lately, that I just thought we could have this kind of somewhere, you know. I mean, to be honest, these flowers, odd as this sounds, they just look so pretty every single place I put them. So I'm just going to pop it here, like that. And then, you see, now I've stood up to check that I was in frame. I'm now actually still standing up, which, you know, again, that's not kind of the best way to craft, really, is it? So I will sit back down in a second. So we could just have that kind of little diamante in there as well, which, you know, looks really pretty, doesn't it? Just check I don't want it somewhere else. All kind of going further round. No, I quite like it on the actual flower. So just going to pop that on there. Like that. Okay. So that page is done. And then what you could do is obviously kind of, you know, you could hold this down with, you know, a little peg or a tiny bulldog clip or something like that, you know, or a paper clip, you know, or you could obviously leave it kind of flapping, but, you know, the choice would be yours. And then actually what I did forget to do was obviously we can pop a little journaling card in there. So let me just quickly ink this card up. So I'll just ink this up. Like that. Okay. And that card's just literally kind of as it came from the kit. So I've just grabbed, you know, I haven't kind of picked one in particular. I've just grabbed one and we just pop it in there. So how pretty is that page? It just looks lovely, doesn't it? I love these colours. So that's one page kind of completely finished. So I'm just going to pop that out of the way, just taking a bit of blue thread away from there. So I'll just pop that out of the way whilst everything kind of dries on that page. And we'll just get kind of working on another page. So this page here, I kind of laid this out before coming on to do some filming. So this was the one that I was working on before thinking actually I could come on and do it kind of on camera. So this is one of the pockets from the kit. So I've just literally folded in the pockets, you know, the pocket in the back, ready to kind of be glued onto the page. And then again, all I've done is painted over the book page, popped down again another little just scrap of the background paper that I had left over from cutting out something else. Just literally glued that down, you know, tore it across, glued it down, inked it up, and popped again some little hole protectors, reinforcers there. And then I also fussy cut out from the background page one of the birds from the kind of like a snow globe thing. So I've just literally fussy cut him out, and I thought he was kind of nice on there. And these pockets on this kit, strangely enough, I didn't put a thumb hole on these because, you know, sometimes I like a thumb hole and sometimes I don't. And obviously if the thumb holes are there, it kind of stops me putting lace across, you know, depending on how big the thumb hole is, because you may see kind of the thumb hole. So I just thought I would experiment with kind of leaving some literally straight across on this kit. So that's what I've done here. And obviously I've utilised that by popping some lace on, which I rather liked. I didn't obviously paint over here because I'm going to stick my pocket down, so I didn't really need to kind of add the lace there. So that's kind of that. And then again, we could obviously use that gorgeous blue again to do a little bit of stamping. So again, I'll just bring this back. And what I might do is, just wondering whether we might like the butterfly stamp actually here. So let me just see whether the blue is still going strong or whether I need to kind of pour a bit more water on it to kind of wet it again. Obviously some stamps also seem more kind of juice hungry than others. So this one kind of seems one that's liking to suck up the ink quite a bit. So just kind of, you know, the more you stamp it, the more, I guess, ink it gets on it. So let me just move that card to one side. I think that card's had it, so I've just binned it. So I might have to actually pour a little tiny drop more water on that ink pad. So literally, I'm just taking a water bottle and just literally pouring a tiny weeny drop of water on there. And actually, I mean, I've got obviously way too much on there, so I'm just going to literally run this off now into my rubbish that's sat beside me. I'll just mop that up, and then I'll just spread it around with the stamp. These are not tried and tested methods at all, but can you see straight away, obviously now the ink pad is, you know, able to be used. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is a permanent fix. There's only so many times you're going to get away with doing this. But, you know, for this journal, I really wanted to use the blue. So, you know, for me, this is working brilliantly. Now, this stamp, very irritatingly, picks up a lot of the background, which is very frustrating. So I'm just going to kind of cut some of that down. Sometimes they're worse than others. Obviously, they do really say, take your stamp, you know, your ink to the stamp, but I'm not very good at doing that. So, you know, that's probably where I'm going wrong. Right, so I'm going to just pop these butterflies over there. So for this, I'm going to just take the ink to the stamp as per the kind of, you know, suggested method. Oops. And we'll just pop that down. Oh, how pretty do they look? I love that colour blue. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? So we can have that there. And then what I might do is just, again, with that lovely old favourite that I'm always dragging out, I might just literally stamp a little bit of kind of swirl as well. So I might just literally stamp that, kind of going just around the corner like that. Doesn't that look pretty? Okay, so then we're going to pop our pocket on. Now we're going to have the pocket kind of here, you know, kind of halfway up the page like that. Now I don't know whether we might want to have, again, a bit of kind of lace kind of down here, or, you know, whether we want to have a bit of lace kind of going down the edge. I mean, obviously, you know, it wouldn't be one of my kind of books really if it wasn't smothered in lace, let's just say, because I can't seem to make them without having kind of lace and paraphernalia everywhere. I don't know what's wrong with me, but for some reason, I mean, I love looking at other people's journals when they don't have all the lace, and I just think they're absolutely beautiful. But when I try and make them like that, I just can't make them. To me, they just look really boring, like they're kind of missing something. And I hate it when they don't feel super chunky. I don't know why that is. I know that's just not quite normal to want them so chunky all the time, but yeah, I don't know. I can't seem to pull one off that's not literally smothered in lace and super chunky. So that's kind of pretty, isn't it? What do you think? And then we could have something else kind of stuck somewhere. And I mean, that's another thing. I don't know why I'm literally compelled to kind of stick things on every single inch of the page. You know, but that's obviously another kind of, another weakness really of mine. Right, let's glue down the, and I've also got this little piece from a doily, which I thought we could kind of maybe have coming out there. Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? So let's glue this down here. And just glue that with the hot glue just for speed. And we want it kind of poking out at the corner. And then this one here, just going to kind of glue that there. Glue that there. Okay, and then I'm just going to take the wet glue to glue the pocket down. Like that. So we'll just literally pop that on kind of like that. Okay, so I quite like that so far. Just hold it down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just seeing whether I've got any kind of diamante trim or anything like that. I've got some pearl trim here. I've got some diamante, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah. Got hot glue now, threads all over me, so as per normal really for me. So I'm going to have that like that, and then we might have this blue butterfly down here. Which do we want that kind of in there? And then that here. That looks pretty, doesn't it? Okay, so first thing I'm going to just literally hot glue, I think. Actually no, I'm going to wet glue this down because hot glue sometimes looks a bit yellowy. Oops. And because this is quite sheer ribbon, sheer lace trim, I didn't really want it kind of looking at all yellow through there. So we'll just pop that down like that. And then just pop a blob of glue there. And then over the top of that, I'm just going to stick the flower. Like, oops. It's a bit more glue. Like that. Okay. And then along here, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of glue this lace down, and then I'm going to kind of glue the diamante on top of it, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to take my glue, kind of run it along there, and then the diamante is going to cover up where I've run the glue. So I just literally, oops, like that. Okay, so that looks pretty, doesn't it? Just press it down, and then I'm just going to ink up the butterfly because we haven't done that yet. And actually, I'm going to keep hold of this one because I think that's that one that I'm going to put in the middle of that massive one that we cut out before. So I've just inked up this small one. Move the ink out the way. And then just going to kind of pop him on down there like that. So again, what I can do is then glue this lace down just like that, and then the butterfly obviously will go on there and just cover that up. So I'm just going to literally hot glue that butterfly on there, and I've left his wings kind of flapping, which I really like doing that. And then we could use a bit of pearl in the centre of him. Don't know whether we need to actually. He's quite nice like that, isn't he? Or we could pop a little flower on there. Yeah, that's probably quite nice, isn't it? So I'm just going to take one of those little kind of plastic flowers, and I'm just going to literally glue that on just there in the centre. Oh, gorgeous. So again, we've got our pocket here. So I'm just checking that's kind of glued on now. Obviously I'm aware because there was a bit of lumpy, you know, from the doily. So just check that's kind of glued down. I've got threads of hot glue everywhere, literally stuck everywhere, which is just horrible. And then what we could do is, I've got this gorgeous round tag, so we could pop that in there. If I just ink that up. And as I say, I haven't coffee dyed any of these pieces, so it may be that when I see what bits are pull out, I may just coffee dye, you know, maybe just the backs of them, so that when they come out, they're kind of, you know, coffee dyed. So we can just pop the round tag in there. We could obviously take another one. Pop that in there. And then you could obviously, you know, make some other little bits and bobs to pop in there as well if you wanted a kind of assortment of things. But just, you know, just literally says we've got kind of a couple of things in there really at the moment. We'll just kind of leave it like that, I think. Let me check what time we're actually up to. Right, so I've done about 50 minutes, I think, because I think it was about 20 minutes in when the phone rang. So that's probably kind of enough for today. Obviously, I just came on for a very quick, you know, craft with me, kind of, let's have a bit of a play together and have a bit of fun. So I hope that the video was enjoyable. I hope that you all managed to kind of grab your stash and do a bit of crafting at the same time. And I will see you again next time. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Thanks, Em. Bye.